All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to your asynchronous lecture for products and brands, the first of the 4Ps. So let's get right into it. Today, what we'll be talking about can be split into about two halves. The first half, product. We'll be talking about classifying products, and we'll be talking also about designing products, by which I mean choosing the attributes of products in a way that creates the most value for consumers and also for the company. Second half, we'll be talking about brands, and we'll be talking about survey results. So let's start it off with this question: what is a product? And by way of answering this question, here we have a very broad definition. Product is anything that can be offered to a market for attention, acquisition, use, or consumption that might satisfy a need or a want. We often contrast products with services. So service also has a definition. Services are an activity, a benefit, or a satisfaction offered for sale that is essentially intangible and does not result in ownership of anything. Okay. We often talk about products and services as different things, but when we look at the more broad definition of a product that we gave here, we see that services can be considered a form of products, okay? A company's overall market offering can be a pure good, so a physical object, or it can be a pure service, so an intangible thing that you don't end up owning, but it's often a combination of goods and services together. So at this stage of the marketing process, we've basically arrived here where we want to construct an integrated marketing program that delivers superior value. At this point, we should have identified a need, created a sort of core product or service that we think will address that need, and identified target segments. Perhaps we haven't selected a target yet to enter, but we kind of have a sense of what the segments are that are important. Today, we'll be thinking about basically how to tune our product so that it kind of satisfies the secondary needs of customers in a segment that we want to target. And we'll also kind of see that as being kind of hand in hand with choosing the other 3 Ps, which we'll cover in later lectures. So we want to figure out what attributes to choose for a product and also really figure out what kind of product we have, so that we can price it and promote it most effectively. So the core product is something that we should have kind of come up with at this stage in the process. It's this very central part of this diagram. The core product is something it's delivering a core benefit, right? It's satisfying the primary need. Beyond that, though, we have the actual product. And there's a lot of decisions to be made here, right? What brand name, which is kind of what our survey was about, what quality level, what packaging, design, specific attributes and features. That's all when we're thinking about sort of a physical good, right? Beyond that, we also have the augmented product, delivery and credit, installation, warranty, after-sale service. These are all kind of services that might be associated with the product as part of a total market offering. So here on the left, we have a picture of what looks like a little pile of breakfast cereal. The core benefit, what is the customer really buying here? We often express that in terms of needs and wants. So here, the customer is buying something to satisfy a physical need for nourishment, right? That's the key underlying need. That's the core benefit. When it comes to the actual product, though, the specific shape and size of this product was decided upon, how the product was packaged. So this interior, you often see this with breakfast cereals, the interior plastic wrapping, and the outside, the exterior cardboard. On the exterior, we have the entire design of the packaging. So the brand name, the company, which also is its own brand. We have information that's being provided here that it's a whole grain product. as well as this thing about there being a book inside and just sort of the general design of the package. On the exterior of the package, we also observe all of the nutrition information, right? So all the ingredients that go into this cereal are a decision. They're all features of the product. So the ingredients look like what you would expect: oats, sugar, but we also see some more fancy chemicals, including trisodium phosphate, which is a particular chemical that you can get a prescription for from the doctor to treat if you have a fungal infection. So what is this doing in our breakfast cereal? Why did General Mills choose to put it there? So this increases shelf life by killing mold. So this allows the product to live in the store for longer while staying fresh, and also in your kitchen cabinet for longer while staying fresh, right? So this was a choice that the designers of this product made. Augmented product, is there anything here for the augmented product? Well, it seems like maybe no. None of these three, delivery and credit, installation, or warranty, would seem to apply to breakfast cereal. But we do have after-sale service. So if you have comments or questions about this product, you can call this number, or you can visit the website. And if you visit the website, what you'll see is this. At least the time that I visited, you'll see a bunch of activities that you can do with Cheerios. You'll also see a description of, what they call the Cheerios effect. What is all of this doing? So this is all trying to sort of create an after-sale interaction, a service component. This kind of conjures up a positive emotional association with Cheerios. So beyond just consuming the product and satisfying that core benefit, and the taste and the health attributes will satisfy some secondary benefits. This also tries to conjure up a need, or that this will satisfy some kind of emotional benefit, right? So there's lots of decisions required for planning your product. You have to make a lot of choices about the features. You have to make a lot of choices about the service, even for a product where you think that that's not very relevant. A market offering can be goods, so just the physical product, and services together. And in the modern era, that's often true, right? In the past, you probably would not have had any kind of after-sale service for a food, but now with kind of a website or an app, you can do that very cheaply. So traditional product offerings are almost always augmented with services, and people have that expectation at this point. Experiences are increasingly used to differentiate offerings, and emotional content is incorporated into the product, like we saw with the Cheerios effect. Okay. Or you can often see these sort of say it with Pepsi, or buy a Coke with your name on it, these sorts of things. So what product and service decisions do we have to make? Well, we have to choose the attributes. We do that in order to differentiate our product from competitors, right? In order to serve our target segment more efficiently and effectively than our competitors. And we also choose advertising, packaging, and labeling. So positioning your product in consumers' mind, right? So where does this product live relative to its competitors when consumers perceive the product, which is different than kind of the physical attributes of the product, right? How consumers perceive the product, as we saw in the past few lectures, can often be, very different than just sort of the core benefits and the core value that's created from the attributes of the product. And lastly, you have to decide on branding, right? A new brand or an existing brand. So for the next few slides, we're going to talk about classifying products. We classify products in order to help us make decisions about those products related to both the attributes as well as the other three Ps, okay? So we'll start off with the first broad classification is between consumer products and business products, okay? Consumer products are those bought by final consumers for personal consumption. Business products are products bought for further processing or for use in conducting a business. Okay, so these are quite broad. And we're not going to talk too much about business products. And indeed, we can see that some products, it might be hard to classify. So if we look at this lawnmower, if someone's buying it to mow their lawn at home, it's a consumer product. If someone's buying it in order to have a lawn mowing business, it's a business product. So we'll focus on consumer products. And there's 4 different types of consumer products. So we have convenience products, shopping products, specialty products, and unsought products, which, as I mentioned, will matter when we're thinking about how to choose price, place, and promotion. So here we have 4 different types of products. And one of these is a convenience product. So what is a convenience product? It's a product that customers usually buy frequently, immediately, and with low buying effort and little comparison shopping. So in this case, you're going to expect it to be a product with a low price, widespread distribution, mass promotion by the producer, and in this case, it's the toothpaste. Of these 4 products, toothpaste is the one where it's cheap, it's everywhere, and we all kind of see the same advertisements for it. And why? Because everyone buys it, right? Shopping products are products that customers compare. So they think a little bit harder. They compare on their features and on their traits. Are they suitable? Is there a good quality? Is the price competitive? And what is the style? So pretty much all the different sort of types of segmentation you can think about might lead people to be thinking like, is this the right product for me? Okay, so a shopping product, you buy it less frequently compared to a convenience product, and they have higher prices than convenience products. We also put in more shopping effort to make comparisons between the different products, right? And why is that the case? Well, we're buying it less often, so we have to think harder. We have to learn every time we go shopping for it about, have there been updates, new features, things that I might care about. And they're durable, so you have to live with your choice, right? Typically with a shopping product, you buy it and you live with it for quite a while. It could be a few months, or it could be many years or decades, right? So you put more effort into making sure you get it right. We also see selective distribution in fewer outlets compared to convenience products, right? Why? Because consumers are willing to shop. They're willing to seek out a store. So you don't need to make it everywhere. It doesn't need to be super convenient because people will come looking for it. And so of these 4 products, it's going to be this microwave. We do often see mass promotion still for shopping products. Again, they tend to be things that almost everyone needs, but you will often also see differentiated targeting, right? Specialty product is a product with unique traits or brand identification for which potential buyers are willing to make a special purchase effort. These will typically have low price sensitivity, so people buying them are not very sensitive to the high prices. They don't mind paying the high prices for this specialty product. Distribution will be exclusive, so they can be hard to find. And promotions are very targeted. That makes sense. Most people are not potential buyers, so you can think of this as kind of a niche targeting strategy. And so of these 4 options, the helicopter is certainly the specialty product. Lastly, we have unsought products. And these are products that are they could be 2 things. Either the consumer doesn't know about it, so it's a new product, I don't know to be looking for it yet, or the consumer knows about it, but they don't really think about buying it. And here it's kind of up in the air. Prices can vary quite a bit. Distribution can vary, but we do typically see aggressive advertising, either because if people don't know about it, you need to tell them about it, right? Which will be through advertising. Or if people know about it, but they don't really feel like buying, personal selling is often kind of like that person-to-person interaction can incentivize someone to buy. Okay. So life insurance is an example of an unsought product that most people know about, but they don't really consider buying most of the time. So part of classifying products is thinking about, or part of the benefit of classifying products is that it allows us to focus our promotions based on what kind of product it is. You know, it's better to focus our promotional effort at different stages of the buying process. So for instance, with a convenience product, often information search is what you want to focus on. Think about when you're looking for a convenience product, often what you'll do is you'll just Google, where's that product, or search, where's that product, where's the closest location, and what's the cheapest one, right? Is it on sale? So you're finding information about it, not about the attributes, just about the place and the price for a convenience product, right? And these are often products that you don't really consider alternatives. You're just picking the one that is that you know you like, right? For a shopping product, I think evaluation of alternatives is typically where you'd focus your promotional efforts, kind of helping people. People are already looking at these products, so you want to make sure that people understand the distinct benefits of your product compared to the other products that they're considering. For specialty products, you know, need recognition, I think, is one place you might want to focus. You know, people are not necessarily sure kind of like why they need this product, what benefit it's going to give to them. So need recognition can often be the place to focus, but I think with specialty products, it's a bit harder to say, just because, you know, they can be a luxury product where people don't really care if they need it or not. So you may then want to focus on like evaluation of alternatives, right? An unsought product, I think need recognition is often where you want to focus. If it's a new product, why do you need it? What does it do for you? What's the core benefit? If it's a product that you know about, but you don't really think about buying, well, again, focusing on why you need it, sort of triggering that need so that they end up kind of engaging in the buying process is typically what you'd want to do. Our second way of classifying products is at what point in the life cycle they are. So on this graph, what we have is on the x-axis, we have time. So kind of from introduction all the way through growth, maturity, and decline, kind of progressing forward in time for a product. And then on the y-axis, we have sales and profit, right? So higher is better. And for a product in the early stage of its life cycle, typically what you'd want to focus on for your promotional effort is need recognition and information search, right? Why do I need this product? Tell me about the product. Like, what does it do, right? Compare that to, say, maturity, where everyone knows what the product's supposed to do. A mature category would be something, again, like toothpaste, microwaves, anything that's been around for a really, really long time, and people know the category very well. It hasn't been disrupted in any way. There you're just focusing on evaluation of alternatives, right? Making sure people know what's the distinct benefit of your product, because all the products will satisfy the same core need. Yours should be doing something better, and you should let people know about that. Growth, you'll kind of focus on information search and evaluation of alternatives. It's kind of a halfway step between introduction, an introductory phase, and a maturity phase product. And finally, in decline, you're really just focusing on trying to get people to buy. There's not really a future for this product. So you're trying to move out your inventory, trying to get rid of it, basically. Similar to the idea of sort of harvesting in the BCG growth share matrix. So to focus on classifying your product will give you a baseline recommendation on how to do things like pick price, place, and on the past 2 slides, we've focused on promotion, right? How should you promote your product depending on its classification? Note that these are baseline recommendations. This is not prescriptive. Depending on how you classify your product, you don't need to promote it. So if you, in that particular way, right? If you have a convenience product, you don't need to promote it by focusing on information search, but it's a good baseline that you can then say, usually I would focus on information search, but because there's something special or different about my convenience product, I'm actually going to focus on this different direction, right? So, a few examples. We want to classify as a consumer or business, what type of product is it, and the product life cycle. So here's a product. This is condos in downtown Mississauga. So we see they're starting from the 500s. We see the brand name MCity4, says register now. So when we classify this is definitely a consumer product. So this is for people to buy. Now that's assuming that people are buying it to live in it. Some people might be buying it to rent it out, in which case you might think of it as kind of a business product, right? I'm using it to create value. So already you can kind of see, which way it goes probably depends on the target segment that you're trying to serve. Are you trying to serve people who are investor real estate owners, or people who are buying it for personal use? Okay. Type of product, we can definitely say that this is a shopping product. Right? It's not, if we're looking at consumers looking to live in it, then this is an option in a mature market that people know all about, and you're just going to try to focus on the specific attributes of this product, right? That either they're luxury or they're located in a good spot in downtown Mississauga. And finally, product life cycle. This is definitely, as I said, a mature market. Okay, so really this tells you we do really want to be focusing on information and evaluation of alternatives, really. Make sure that people understand exactly what the benefits of this product are compared to similar competing products, other houses or condos they could be buying. Here's a product where, again, depending on our target segment, could be consumer or business, right? Consumer for use in your home, business for use in furnishing an office, right? So again, if we think about it as a consumer product, we can probably think of this as either a shopping or specialty, right? Pre-pandemic, with most people not working at home, this might be a specialty product, right? Something that, is more expensive than a regular desk, but has kind of these extra benefits that maybe it's healthier to work at it. Post-pandemic, I think a lot more people are working at home. This might be a lot more common. So maybe a shopping product, right? And in terms of its life cycle, this is not a mature category, right? Desks are mature, but standing desks are not, right? So a desk that you can stand, that you can kind of electrically control to be a standing desk or a sitting desk, that's fairly new. So this would be either introductory or growth phase. So here we would probably want to focus on things like need recognition and information search, right? Why do you need this? What benefits does it kind of confer? And what does it do exactly? Like price, where do you get it? All these different things. Our last type of classification is this sort of purely a product, like a physical good, or is it a service, right? That's very binary. There's a lot of gray area between them, right? Like I said, market offerings typically incorporate products with the augmented products being kind of a service that is associated. So, but kind of which one does it lean more towards? Is this kind of more important that it's the physical good, like Cheerios, or is it more important that it's sort of the service component, like with a haircut, right? So what's different about services? They are intangible. They can't be seen, tasted, felt, heard, or smelled before purchase. Services cannot be separated from their providers. So whoever is providing the service, whatever staff member or business owner is providing the service, you can't have the service without that person. So that person's attitude or behavior will affect how you evaluate the service that you receive. Perishability, services can't be stored. You can't sort of save a haircut for later. You kind of consume it at that moment. And variability, this is similar to inseparability. The quality of service depends on who provides them and when, where, and how. Okay. Services, there's a lot of things about them that make it hard to market them. For instance, intangibility, it's hard to give an experience of the service before you purchase it, right? So it's hard to give out a sample. Now, returning to that idea of inseparability and variability, when we think about service agents, they work for the company, right? So they provide the service that the company is selling, and they're crucial to the success, but their interests aren't always lined up with the company, right? So we have this idea of there's an issue in how we incentivize our employees, right? How do we make sure that they're doing a good job, that they're providing a service in the best way possible? And that's known as the principal agent problem. From a marketing perspective, we kind of think about internal marketing. So companies market to customers, right? Promote to them, sort of set prices for them, try to create value for them. But also you need to market to your employees to make sure that they're providing the service in the best way, right? So, one thing that you often see companies do is incentivize employees, with sales, right? So if you sell a product, then you get a percentage of the sale price of that product. That can incentivize employees to sort of sell more. Does it incentivize kind of good service, though, for the customer who comes in the store? That's not always clear. That's why you often see things like, like employee of the month, right? Where you kind of give credit or recognition to an employee who seems to be acting especially well, right? You also see a lot of emphasis put on things like company culture, right? Companies trying to say, listen, like this is the culture. We're like very customer first, customer centric. So you need to be on board with that culture to be working here, right? So that's all internal marketing. Interactive marketing is the marketing that as a company, you don't really have control over. It's how employees are conveying information about your product or service to customers, right? So yes, spiffs, sales spiffs is another word for sales, getting a commission on sales. Okay, so those are all our product classifications. Now we're going to talk about actually selecting attributes of a product. So once you have your core benefit, you want to select specific features of the product. There's basically two approaches that we have based on two kinds of data for selecting product features in marketing. The first one is what we'll focus on. The idea is that there's revealed preferences about what people like based on what we observe them buying in their day-to-day life, okay? That will lead to what's called a characteristics-based demand function, which if you continue on in marketing, you'll learn about, but here we won't dive into kind of what that actually means too much. The second option is stated preferences. So what people say they like in a product is, what they like. And that leads to something called conjoint analysis, which again, you would learn more about if you take upper year marketing courses. So selection using revealed preferences, we infer what people value based on what they choose. So in order to use this, this method to learn what attributes people value, we need to observe prices and market shares and product attributes for multiple products. Now, we don't necessarily need to observe all of these things, and I'll be more specific about that when we're going through some examples. But what we really need to be able to do is compare products that are identical, except for one thing, right? And then we can infer whether people value that attribute, that one thing that's different, based on differences in market shares, conditional on differences in price or quality. Okay. So here's an example of this to make it concrete. We have 6 different cars here. They're identical in price and in all of their attributes, except that they're different colors. And we observe a little bit of data about the market share of these cars. When I say market share, I mean what share of all of this model of car sold are each of the different colors. So we see that blue cars, their share is about 0.4, so about 40% of this type of car. This is, I think, a Mini Cooper. 40% of Mini Coopers are blue, and 20% of Mini Coopers sold are black. Okay. So what do we learn here from this data? Well, we learn that people like the blue car better. They like the blue color. The price is identical. Everything else about the car is identical. So the fact that more people are buying blue cars tells us they like the color blue, right? So when we introduce a new model of car, we'll probably want to make sure that blue is an option. Here's another example. So we have this sweater in the university store. It's $29.99, and it has this kind of simple logo on the front, and it has no hood, versus this sweater, which has a more complicated design on the front, and it does have a hood. Right? And so what can we see? We see the price of the one on the left is $29.99, and its market share is 0.4. So 40% of the sweaters sold at UTM's university store are this simple type of sweater. And on the right, we see $49.99 for the more complicated design with the hood, and the market share is 0.6. So 60% of sweaters are the one on the right. So what we can see is that even though the price of the one on the right is higher, it still sells more. So there must be something about this sweater that people like, that they say this is worth paying the higher price. Now, there's 2 things that are different though about this sweater. It has a more complicated design, and it has a hood. So all we can say is that people like one of those things. They like at least one of those things, right? Why? Because if they didn't like hoods or the complicated design, then there's no way this sweater would sell more at a higher price, right? So people must like at least one of those things, but which one it is, we can't really say. They could like both, or they could really like this logo on the front and not really like the hood, but they're willing to have it because they like the logo so much. Or vice versa. They could really like the hood and they don't really like the logo, but they want it. They want the hood so much that they're willing to pay the higher price and have this logo that they don't really like, right? So we can't infer which of these things people like. So when we design a new product, should we say, should it have this logo? Should it have a hood? No, but we can say that if we include both, then people like at least one of those things, but we can't say which one for certain. So you can see, if we really want to learn which attribute someone likes, you can't have multiple attributes changing at the same time when we compare the products. So this analysis is kind of highlighted. There's maybe 2 types of product features. There's attributes that can't be ranked. So things like color, style, is there a hood or not, right? Some different customers just prefer different horizontal features. Some people like blue, some people like black. It's not that blue is better than black. Some people like blue more and some people like black more. People disagree, right? Versus vertical features are attributes that can be ranked and all consumers agree. Everyone thinks that the lower prices are better, conditional on everything else staying the same. If you can get a cheaper price on that product, you like it better. And if it's a higher quality, again, everything else staying the same, if something's higher quality, you like it better, right? So that's something that everyone can agree on. And you can use the combination of vertical features and horizontal features to learn about what attributes people like, what horizontal attributes people like. You never really learn about what vertical features people like, because we know, right? People like lower prices and people like higher quality, right? What we're trying to learn about are horizontal features typically, okay? So let's look at this example here. So here we have two phones. There's no price data, but we do see battery life information, market share information, and whether or not the phone has a 3D camera function. So the top row is the phone on the left. We see it has 10 hours of battery life. It sells about 50% of the phones. So these phones kind of split evenly in terms of their sales. And it doesn't have a 3D camera function. Versus the phone on the right, it has 8 hours of battery life, and it does have a 3D camera function. Can we learn anything from this data about whether people like the 3D camera, right? Yes, battery life is a vertical attribute. Everyone likes better battery life, right? All else equal, people want their phones to have better battery life. So given that the battery life of the right phone is lower, its market share is still the same. So that means that people must like the 3D camera function, right? Because if they didn't like that, then there's no way that they would be buying the phone on the right because its battery life is worse, okay? So the vertical attribute changed. And so we can use that to infer something about the horizontal attribute, right? Same way with the sweaters, right? The price of the one on the right is higher. We learn that people like either the hood or the logo or both because its market share is still higher. So stated preferences, we kind of do what's called a conjoint analysis, where we infer consumer perceived value based on what people say. Basically, this is an automated feature of many survey software packages, for instance, Qualtrics, which we have access to at U of T. And what we do is we show people a variety of combinations of attributes and make them pick, okay? What are the benefits? It's very easy to gather this information. The downside is there's less impact than revealed consumer perceived value. You kind of believe it less. But another good thing about it, though, is if you're designing a new product that has brand new attributes that have never been seen before, then you can only figure out what people will like with conjoint analysis. You don't have data that applies to the new attributes from the past because they're brand new, right? You can't tell if someone likes this new feature because it's never been seen before. So you would need to do conjoint analysis. With stated preferences, we can kind of ask people a series of questions that kind of are sort of yes, no. So it's like, would you buy this sweater at $29.99? Would you buy it at $49.99? Someone would say, yes, I would buy it at $29.99. Same person. Now you're asking them, okay, at a price of $49.99, would you buy the sweater on the left? No, but would you buy the one on the right? Yes. So again, we learn that people value the sweater on the right, right? Something about that sweater makes it worth the higher price. Okay, so the next part of our lecture is on branding. So a brand, how do we define it? It's a name, a term, a sign, a symbol, or a design that identifies a product, right? Branding adds perceived value. That's typically why companies do branding, right? And it conveys this value by helping buyers identify products or by helping buyers assess quality, okay? So you should think of those as kind of the two main things that branding does. Either it helps you understand what does this product do, right? What are the features of this product? What should I expect this product to provide in terms of benefits? And then assessing quality, you know, is this a strong brand? Do they make good products, right? So if I see a new product, but it has that brand that I know is a good one, does this like tell me that this new product is good, right? Typically, yes, right? That's kind of the value of branding. For sellers, branding will help exactly by conveying that product quality. And it will also help by providing legal protection, right? If you have a product that you want to have this distinct brand identity, then you need to give it a unique brand that people cannot copy, right? And as we saw, branding can really help sellers to segment markets, right? To help basically by associating different brands with different benefits, then you can target your segments of consumers who value those different benefits with the different brands. So brand equity is the idea that there's a positive differential effect of knowing the brand name for customers when they're responding to the product or service, when they're perceiving its value. So one measure of brand equity is the extent to which customers are willing to pay more just for the brand name. So for instance, with Clorox bleach, this is a chemical, it's identical to regular bleach, but it's twice the price and people are still willing to buy it. Why? Even though it's an identical product, people perceive it as perhaps being a higher quality. The advantages competitively of strong brand equity, you have high consumer awareness. So your product will typically be in consumers' consideration sets, and you'll be able to attract new customers. And you have strong brand loyalty. So people will kind of come back over and over again. They maybe associate the brand as something that they want to be a part of their lives, and they'll sort of be loyal to that. Right? And it can also help when introducing new products. Again, good for attracting new consumers, providing information. Strong brands are also less susceptible to price competition. Like we saw with Clorox, you can charge a higher price if your brand has a good quality association. You can also charge a higher price for maybe a new brand. If you have a brand that's associated with maybe low quality or low pricing, then if you want to start charging high prices, you may want to create a new brand, right? That's seen as not competing with that old brand. So another kind of definition of brand equity used in finance and accounting is, the brand's total financial value. Okay, but we won't really talk about that here, but you should know that that definition is sort of out there. So like we talked, or like I kind of presented to you in the survey this past week, there's 4 different brand development strategies. So if you're a company, an existing company with an existing sort of product and brand, what you can do is you can create sort of you can have a new product similar to ones that you've had before with the same brand, and that would be a line extension. Or you could have an existing product, but with a new brand name, right? That would be a multi-brand. You could also think about a new product category with an existing brand name. That would be a brand extension. Or you could have a new product category with a new brand name, which would just be new brand. So here's a few different companies and with different brand strategies. So line extension would apply to Cheerios, right? So when Cheerios adds in multigrain Cheerios, same product category, breakfast cereal, same brand name, Cheerios, right? So line extension. For Procter & Gamble, they had Tide in the laundry detergent category. They add Cheer, another laundry detergent, but with a new brand name. So this would be a multi-brand. For Cinnabon, like we saw in lecture 4, they have their cinnamon buns, they add in the candle, right? So this would be a brand extension where they use their same brand name, but in a new product category, candles. Lastly, we have Dow Chemical. So Dow makes a whole bunch of industrial chemicals, and then they added this new product, which is styrofoam, which is like the packing material and insulation. So as a new brand name, styrofoam compared to Dow, in a new product category, this sort of packing material compared to industrial chemicals. So, we can think about why these companies made these choices. given now what we know about the value of brands, right? So why didn't Cinnabon create a new brand for its scented candles? Well, we can say, this candle will deliver some of the same benefits as a Cinnabon, right? You can't eat it, but it will smell just as good, right? So it'll smell like the cinnamon bun that you would get in a Cinnabon store. And in fact, by using the same brand name, you want to convey that it will smell very, very similar, right? Almost identical, right? So to provide information about consumers is the main, or information to consumers is the main reason why they went with what would it be? Sorry. Why they went with a brand extension, right? Existing brand name with a new product category. For Dow Chemical, right? So they make industrial chemicals, but then they started making this packing material, right? Why didn't they call it Dow spray foam or Dow foam, right? So for Dow, they're a high quality company. So maybe this new product could have benefited from that quality reputation. However, in this case, styrofoam is very, very different than all their previous products. So in order not to confuse consumers about what are the benefits of styrofoam, they called it a new thing, right? Because it's so different, right? So this would be an entirely new brand. So that kind of brings us to the survey results. So what I asked you guys was to analyze a problem that Metrolinx, the GTA Transit Authority, is having. Right? Their revenues are down, and they're focusing on how to increase revenue by doing something new with the connection between Kitchener-Waterloo, which is a city about 100 kilometers away from Toronto, and Toronto itself. Right? So there are 4 options: an express train called the KTX, Kitchener-Toronto Express, a high-speed fiber optic connection called Go Virtual Connect. That would have been a brand extension, a high-speed fiber optic connection called KTX Virtual Connect, an entirely new brand, or an express train called just Go Train Express, so a line extension, right? So let's kind of go into the answers that you guys provided. So we'll start with an express train called KTX. I think, yeah, so that was sort of the least common answer. So here I have an answer from Dora. So Dora writes that the new name is more novel to consumers who don't know about the product, which makes it more convenient for the company to raise prices. Okay, so that's an interesting idea. I have Sinyi Yang here as well, who writes, the name is not changed. Consumers will think that the line is just a brand extension of the same product and that they'll pay the same price. If you use a new name, or sorry, that should be line, that should say line extension. If you use a new name, it will make the consumers feel fresh, and you can increase your profits by raising the price, targeting office workers to meet their business needs who are less price sensitive. Okay, so that's really interesting. So the idea there is we create this new brand, still an express train, but because we want to serve maybe a slightly different target segment, or we just want to leave behind the associations of a low-priced train, we create a new brand so that maybe we can charge a higher price. Okay, so new brand allows you to maybe charge a higher price. So let's go down to the bottom just to contrast an express train called Go Train Express. So GUN says, Go Train Express is a well-known brand. Consumers fully understand it. Although the price would be difficult to change, consumers kind of fully trust it. Most consumers are going to want something familiar and are going to want to spend less money. Okay. And CGS says, with an existing brand name, it positions the strategy in the line extension box, providing variety in a cost-efficient way is the key for this company who has a large budget deficit. Okay, so I guess the idea with here is we shouldn't go with a new name. We should go with the old name, most consumers are going to want something familiar and they're going to want something cheap, right? So if we're targeting commuters, then this is the way to go. And given that we don't have a lot of budget, maybe it's worth it to not try to create a whole new brand, which would require a lot of maybe advertising and promotion to get people to understand what it is. With just Go Train Express, we'll save a bit of money, okay? So next we'll go to this kind of new product, right? The fiber optic connection. So let's see, a high-speed fiber optic connection called Go Virtual Connect. So keep the old name, but with a new product, right? So a high-speed, let's see, we have Zixuan says Metrolix has a large budget deficit. So brand extension called Go Virtual Connect. We'll give it fast recognition and save on advertising costs. And it can satisfy tech companies, who I mentioned in the question, are located in KW. Perfect. So again, kind of thinking that there's a budget problem, so we shouldn't think about spending a ton of money on a new brand, but we should focus on a new target segment who could be willing to pay for this type of service, right? High-speed fiber optic connection sounds more appealing. So this is Shangyi. Yeah, again, instant recognition, faster acceptance. And if consumers are already familiar with the company, then Virtual Connect will be better understood and utilized since they know what to expect. So, and this is like an upgrade. And this brand extension does not involve huge risks, as Metrolinx is essentially a transit authority, so it won't hurt consumers' attitudes even if it fails. So that's interesting. So even if there's a downside risk of failure for this product, it's not really going to hurt. It's not going to hurt Go. So I guess it's interesting then that Shangyi went with the same brand name, because then you might imagine that with the same brand name, it might drag it down a little bit if it ends up failing, that there'll be spillovers from this new product failing to the old products. I think this is interesting, definitely interesting to think about. And here again, so the idea is with the Go name, you're trying to create familiarity, save on advertising costs. People will kind of understand what it's supposed to do. All right, so lastly, a high-speed fiber optic connection between the two cities called KTX Virtual Connect. So new product, new brand. Here we have Yang Yun Qi. He says, I chose the new brand, or they say, I chose the new brand because by creating something totally new with a new name for the customers, our product characteristics would be unknown to them. Because it's totally new, we can increase the price, which would increase revenue directly. And we also know that we're targeting people who work in this tech hub, so they're likely to have higher wages and can afford higher prices. And they're likely to be busier and want to save time commuting to work, so they might be interested in products with higher tech. So, okay, cool. Again, here we have different markets, different target segments, and new brand in order to charge a higher price to them. And so finally, we have Christina Wong, high-speed fiber optic connection called KTX Virtual Connect. Core offering is struggling, and so the company would benefit from creating a new product. And it should have an entirely new brand image because the GTA Transit Authority does not have the best track record when it comes to brand management and customer service. So here we see basically the idea that there is a negative quality association with the Go brand. So we want to get away from that it would actually convey the wrong thing. It wouldn't help a product to be associated with Go. So this is really good. These are great responses. So thanks to everyone who submitted. And I think here we can kind of clearly see what are the trade-offs that are being faced. We can kind of see this as well in an example that actually happened for Metrolinx. So anyone who's kind of gone from downtown Toronto to Pearson Airport in Mississauga may have ridden this train, which is the Union Pearson Express. Now, this is operated by the same transit authority, and you can ride it using your Presto card. So this could have been a GO train, right? This could have been called GO, GO Union Pearson or whatever, but it's called Union Pearson Express, UPX. So why is that? So they argued that they intended the Union Pearson Express to be a premium service that appealed to business people. So here, this kind of ties into the ideas in some of the answers that we have a new target segment, we want a new brand, so we can charge a higher price compared to associating with the old brand, which is a lower price, right? So, but you can see in the link where I got this quote from, ad firm given $45 million for UPX branding, right? So if we're very concerned about the budget, spending almost $50 million on branding might not be a top priority, right? But this is what they decided to do, and now it's kind of, unless they end up changing it to a GO train, this kind of is what it is. So there's other brand development strategies you can do apart from those 4 options. There's co-branding, so collaborations are quite common. You can leverage a partner's reputation, either for particular attributes. With these 2 products, we see they have this main product, detergent and shampoo, but then an associated product, which has a particular attribute, is that it smells nice or it smells a particular way. Or you can associate with a reputation for quality. Products that are collaborations will often come at a premium price because you imagine you're getting kind of the best of everything in this one product. So in terms of major brand strategy decisions, we've kind of talked now about brand development. We're not going to talk about sponsorship, so that kind of leaves for the remainder of the lecture brand names and brand positioning. So we'll start with brand positioning. There's 2 levels of brand positioning that are kind of traditional. And then there's a third that's been added later on. So we can position our brand in consumers' mind based either on its attributes or on its benefits. So here's a brand, which is a restaurant that's fairly common in the GTA called Mandarin. And here's the description of that restaurant. So we can see a big description of all the different products that are offered at this restaurant. And then at the end, we see there's something to satisfy everyone's craving. So when we look at this description, we see this is mostly about the attributes of the brand. Here's all the stuff that you can expect to get, the specific stuff at this restaurant. Benefits are satisfy everyone's craving, right? This will satisfy your need for food, satisfy a wide variety of different sort of tastes and preferences, right? So the benefit is it'll satisfy those different tastes and preferences. The attribute is it's all these specific kinds of features, right? Here's another one, another food company, and you see it's very similar, right? A lot of description of the exact products that you'll be getting. And then at the end, maybe a benefit, a culinary experience that will not be forgotten. It's like kind of a vague benefit. If we position on that benefit only, it's quite weak, right? So this statement does not do a lot to position the brand compared to a statement that is attributes only. This is actually still quite good, right? So the benefits in this case of food are obvious, right? Here, what people would care about are the attributes. What specific kinds of food can I get at this particular restaurant, So that's kind of benefits versus attributes. They're often combined. And as we saw with these restaurants, typically the benefits don't need to be explained. But in other product categories, positioning only with attributes is very ineffective. So here we have toothpastes, and we have a bunch of different product offerings from Colgate. We see these attributes. So sensitive pro relief, it penetrates to the nerve. Max Fresh, our freshest line of minty cool toothpastes. Optic White, a white seal technology that forms a shield around your teeth. So these are all attributes, but what consumers really care about is the benefit, right? You don't necessarily care that it has 12-hour germ fighting protection. What you care about is that it keeps your mouth healthy, right? And you don't necessarily care that whatever this chemical in the toothpaste is penetrates to the nerve. What you care about is that it will provide lasting relief if you have sensitive teeth. So the positioning would be very weak here if it just focused on the attributes. Here, focusing on the benefits is more effective. Beyond attributes and beliefs, we have companies that really focus on a third level of brand positioning, which is beliefs and values, or essentially tapping into people's emotions, right? These are strategies that conjure up feelings. This can be a very powerful brand positioning strategy, right? Feelings of connection, feelings of empowerment. Why don't Mandarin or Paramount pursue these kinds of positioning? Well, some restaurants do, right? The feeling of like, this is where you gather with your family. This is like a place to sort of meet people and sort of hang out with your friends. So like kind of creating that emotional connection, that sort of secondary psychological need. But, often creating this kind of positioning requires a lot of advertising budget. It might only be cost effective for more global brands. And so that brings us to our last part of this lecture, brand name selection. So how do you select your brand name? Well, there's a bunch of rules, so I'll put them out here. These are all things that are good for a brand name to do. A brand name should suggest something about the product or its benefits. A brand name should be easy to say, recognize, and remember. A good brand name is distinctive. It's extendable to new products that might be added to the product line, and it translates well. And one more thing, if your brand name is initially something that you cannot trademark, like in this TV channel in the US, because this is a generic term, science fiction, changing it to something that you can trademark will allow you to legally protect your brand. So let's look in more detail. So the first two things, brand name selection should suggest something about the product or its benefits and be easy to say, recognize, and remember. Here's a few good examples. Staples is a company that sells office supplies. One office supply you need are staples for, attaching papers together. The word staples also means necessities, which are again things that you can find at the store, necessities for the office. So this is a good name, simple, suggests something about the product. Match.com, dating website for matching with people, again suggests something about the benefits of the product, easy to say and remember. And Pizza, great example, suggests something about the product for sure, and very easy to remember. Now, when you think about picking your identity, you can think about sort of Pizza and other similar restaurants, and they have their main product located right in the name, but they also sell other products, right? Pizza also sells salads, sandwiches, etc. Right? Cinnabon also sells coffee, lemonade, and drinks, right? So they still keep that one brand name because it can be that sort of one food item in their brand name, because it can be difficult to associate your brand with multiple products. It can be a losing strategy. best to pick one product as your identity in many cases. So here we see 6 brands, 6 famous global brands. And you probably recognize what these brands are, even the ones that don't have their name in them. What's common with all these brands is they've been around for quite a while and their logos have changed. This is what their logos used to look like. So apart from being a lot more complex and looking more outdated, these logos all have the main product of the company on it, right? Coffee for Starbucks, hamburgers for McDonald's, sports shoes for Adidas, etc., right? So this is how they used to look. Now, why don't they still look like that? Well, we can look at, say, IBM. So IBM, on their logo, it said International Business Machines, right? So computers, big computers for businesses. Is that still all they do? No. So they do research, they do infrastructure, they even do management consulting, so marketing, finance, data analytics, etc. Okay, so IBM does not exclusively focus on making business computing machines anymore. They have a broad variety of products. And so now they're IBM and not International Business Machines. Once a brand has succeeded in establishing a core identity, you often want to build on it with new products or new offerings, right? Try to expand your market or use that kind of reputation that you've gathered to enter new markets. But to do that, you might need to change your positioning from a more specific brand to a more general brand, right? And so that's kind of what we saw with all of these brands. As they moved away from their core offering, they simplified, and they're no longer just that one main product, okay? So this is an example of brand names facing this kind of different constraint, which is that they should be adaptable to new types of products that may be added to the product line, right? The previous versions of those 6 companies were not extendable, so they changed to become adaptable. So that's it for this week. Next week, we're going to talk about pricing. So it's going to be the most sort of numeric lecture in the course. You should also take a look at Quirkus. So I posted an announcement where you can click a doodle link to sign up for a slot to discuss projects. So all your projects proposals have been graded. I was very impressed with the quality of proposals. So if you would like, I would highly recommend that you book a slot with me, with your whole group, so you can come and talk about your project and about next steps, so that you kind of have the best project possible before we do presentations, which are going to come in about a month later in November. So I'll leave it at that. So by the time you watch this, it'll be after your exam. So you can kind of relax for a little bit. Hope it went well, and I will see you guys next week.